Released March 2011, we review Homefront for the PC.
Don't fire until I give the word, but when I do, don't hesitate.
Homefront, a game set in the year 2027. The story is this: America has been overrun by the Greater Korean Republic. You've joined the resistance to fight against this powerful enemy and regain America's freedom.
That's good enough for a pre-flight check. Get us airborne.
Let me start out with my take on the story. I'd have to say the story is well told and an interesting one. Interesting and refreshing. Maybe not refreshing to everyone, but for me it's a change. I've been playing a lot of the Call of Duties and Medal of Honors and so on, so a change from the butt-kicking Marines and Rangers lead the way thing is in fact refreshing. As a matter of fact, the last time I remember playing anything like this was a little game called Turning Point Fall of Liberty, and that was a while back.
Our nation fell into a kind of a madness. I remember that first winter. Desperation sweeping the country.
Not only is this an interesting story and a deviation from the norm, but in-game it's presented well. And instead of the use of cutscenes, we're presented with stills. I have no complaints here, the stills are fine. They look good, and most of the story is told while controlling your character.
Where's Boone?
He's dead.
I guess the deal's off.
There are times when you're not emptying clips and the story continues to play out.
Are we really just gonna leave it like this?
We have to go, now.
The graphics, really nice. My graphics card is due for an upgrade. But these visuals are still pretty solid, and when making comments on a PC game's graphics, I have to take into consideration what the game looks like at its optimal settings, the max settings. Not judge it by the limitations of my graphics card. Which, by the way, will soon be a thing of the past. Again. Yeah, no more overclocking for me for a while.
You four with us! We're clearing this bridge!
This is one of the main reasons why console gamers stick to consoles though. If you have to constantly be upgrading your graphics card, which can sometimes cost more than a console, that can be a serious deterrent.
Follow me and keep quiet.
So the graphics in Homefront are good in my opinion. The audio is also well done, from the relatively convincing voice acting to the sounds of explosions and gunbursts to the scores. No complaints here. I also like the way the stages are set up. This gives a point to game design. For most parts, the stages are designed in a way that will keep you in the game, keep you immersed. They're not too long, not particularly short, and like I said earlier, the story is played out during the stages instead of the use of lengthy cutscenes.
This is Warpath. Be advised we have additional choppers from the 160th inbound. Over.
Raptor copies all. Joining formation.
Let's step over to what I like to call the OK section. The controls. The controls are okay because even though they're not the tightest, I can work with them. Sometimes aiming feels a bit stiff and adjusting look sensitivity didn't help enough, but it's not as bad as, let's say, a last gen title. Then there's the absence of a cover system. If you notice in my reviews, certain things will always come up. Now these things are like most things in life, totally subjective, to each his own, but as rare as it is today, I'll always be campaigning for an effective cover system, and not just one that allows you to lean out or peep over like in Chronicles of Riddick. I mean, I'll take that over nothing, but come on, didn't anyone play Quantum of Solace? My point is, a game doesn't have to be a third-person shooter like Gears of War to have a good cover system. Anyway, Homefront being the Call of Duty knockoff that it is, they chose to go with the Call of Duty style and add no cover system. Strafing in and out of cover is about it. I don't subscribe to popular beliefs most of the time, and my take on cover systems is proof of that. Obviously most gamers don't mind that Call of Duty style cover, and I guess that's why it remains that way in a franchise that popular.
That helo's gonna pick.
The weapons in Homefront are also in my OK books. Okay because there's really nothing spectacular about the selection. I say this because I like a game that gives you variety, not just quantity. As a matter of fact, quality over quantity. I'd prefer a game that gives me no more than, say, 4 guns to choose from, but when all is said and done, these 4 guns are very different from each other and highly effective. Not like the guns in Homefront where most of them seem like the same gun with a different look. Now, Goliath is cool, very cool. I'd run out and buy Homefront 2 if I knew they'd rebuild a new Goliath. That alone would give me a reason to get back in the fight. I'm not even sure if I actually saw a shotgun in the entire game. The weapon selection really is kinda weak actually. It works, but it's still weak. Worth pointing out. The difficulty level, nice. Even on the hardest setting, it's not impossible or the kind of thing that'll have you smashing your console. But it keeps the challenge up there, so by the time the credits start to roll, you'll feel like you got your money's worth. The multiplayer is cool, but I won't get into much of it here. Check it out in the lobby soon. What's bad about Homefront is this, and only this. Really, your squad's AI. Again, a completely useless squad that runs about and shouts garbage like cheerleaders. To prove this, in the middle of a battle, take a look at how many enemies are in front of you. Then take cover for, let's say, a good 30 seconds. Then look out again. I guarantee, if you're not dead by then, when you look out, not much will have changed. You'll hear your teammates saying all kinds of action-packed things, of course. You'll hear crazy gunfire, but the enemy is still standing, shooting and waiting for you to make the next move.
Under heavy fire! Jacobs, help!
I hate this kind of garbage in shooters. Your squad is only there for sensationalism, for sure. But when it comes down to the crunch, they stand around waiting for you to kill 90% of the enemies, flip all the switches, press all the buttons and complete all the objectives. Come on, the squad can do a little bit more. I'm not saying they don't shoot anybody or they do absolutely nothing. I'm saying they don't do enough.
Need to reload!
No! These guys have lost it! They're not on anybody's side!
To wrap this up, Homefront isn't a great game by a long shot, but it also isn't a bad game either. And the more you play it, actually is the better it gets. It gets really nice coming closer to the end as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to California!
I believe this game comes in a little above average because of its overall presentation. Developers of games like Homefront need to understand though that there's no point in creating an unrealistic hype to your product. Giving consumers the idea that your game is going to be a Call of Duty killer just for gamers to buy it and realize it didn't even come close. Just barely lurking in Call of Duty's shadows. That kind of hype just makes it harder for you to sell a sequel. It really damages your rep. I mean, if you know that's like the last game you're ever going to make, then fine. But other than that, devs need to think forward progression when creating their marketing campaigns. Because in my opinion, the definition of hype is to make something out to be more than it really is. You know, like when a boxer walks into the ring and the announcer says, Iron Mike. Now we all know he's not made of iron, or anything close to that, and that's Homefront.
I'm sorry.
Well, good luck with the sequel, guys, if there is even gonna be one. But for now, the lab gives Homefront a 7 out of 10.
I guess. Thanks, man.